travel and tourism. Well, you've heard a lot today about culture and heritage and the importance of promoting that for your destination. Well, that if you don't know about UNESCO, well, this is a perfect opportunity too, especially if you're focusing on those aspects in promoting your destination. We will also be, her presentation will also be talking about the launch of a program that we've been working with UNESCO as well as Expedia, so I look forward to that. As they clean up the stage, we are running a bit over time, but I want to remind you for lunch will be taking place later, just where we had the welcome dinner last night, just down the hall. But we have 2 more presentations and then we'll go over to lunch. It's a bit shorter than before, so it's free seating. There's no assigned seats. Go ahead, grab some lunch, but not yet. We do have 2 more sessions before. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome onto stage the Program Officer for Culture at UNESCO Bangkok, Thailand. A big round of applause for Kun Montakarn Kittpaisalsilp.
And good not morning anymore, almost afternoon. I'm Montakarn from Unesco, and thank you Para and all the partners in Thailand for inviting Unesco to join in this very grand and apparently successful seminar. So without further ado, I'll try to make it as short and painless as possible for you, and we can go to eat. First, I have to find a way to use this. Okay, so in this topic, I will be just talking about a few of our lessons learned that we have over the past 60 years that UNESCO established. So it's like a rather big organization. We kind of accumulating lessons from around the world, and that's one thing that we pass on from different generations of colleagues. So just to start off, because I'm not so sure that everybody knows what UNESCO is, but let's go through this. What does UNESCO actually do? A little bit of history. After the World War II, so as you know, World War I, it didn't work out quite well, so we had World War II. And after that, the United Nations was established with, right now, 23 UN agencies, all doing different aspects of peacekeeping. And UNESCO was established to on the basis of the idea that since the war began, in the minds of people, it is in their mind that the defenses of peace must be constructed. So how do we construct a peace in the mind? It's through 3 things: education, science, and culture. That's how we work the kind of progress away from the most, the bottommost of mankind in here and in here. So that's how we that's the basis of UNESCO, educational, scientific, and cultural organization. These days, UNESCO work on so many different things that is about education, science, and culture, from inclusive education, innovation, and skill development, natural science, social and human science, communication on the freedom of press, and culture, which is ranging from tangible heritage or place and objects to intangible heritage or living heritage to the creative cities, creative and culture industries. UNESCO is actually normally people have misunderstanding that we make a decision about everything, but for example, we directly take care of the World Heritage, which is completely not true. How can you take care of 1,100 World Heritage sites in the world? We work on all of this thing as a kind of secretariat, so we take decisions from member states, 193 member states across the world. They meet every 2 years in the General Assemblies, and we have the executive board that kind of generate the decisions out of these meetings. With 2,000 plus staff from 169 nationalities and 53 field offices with different expertise, organizations and networks and chairs that we have across the world. So out of 54 field offices, in the different levels of work, from the national office that takes care of one country to cluster and regional offices that take care of more than one country, or like a cluster of neighboring countries, so to say. So at UNESCO Bangkok in Thailand, we are the regional bureau, particularly for education. So we take care of in terms of budget dissemination for 46 countries in the region through another 13 UNESCO field offices. We are also the cluster office, which means that we directly implement projects in Thailand, Myanmar, Laos, PDR, and Singapore. The kind of projects that we implement kind of going involve like 5 functions of what UNESCO is doing, like from providing technical support, expertise, innovate new ideas, new approach, new ways to solve problems, gather some good practices, and build human capacity, like giving trainings to different levels of human resources, and partner extensively with government, public organizations, private sectors, and civil society. So for 60 plus years, as UNESCO, we take quite a lot of pride in being the only UN agency that has the key mandate in culture. But when we say culture and heritage, we don't actually mean just place and object only, but it covers more than that. Just let me go back a little bit in terms of like the explanation. So what if, like, you would think that UNESCO just do all sorts of random things, like, like World Heritage Site, creative cities, and different things, but it seems to be like all compassive, but and rather random somehow. But to say it's not random is actually governed by different international laws. We call this convention. So convention is like an agreement at the international level that different countries signed together, and by signing or ratifying this law, the country has the kind of an obligation to either update or change their laws, their policy, their measures in the country to be able to reach the goal of that particular laws or something. So the laws at international level that is involved culture and tourism, there are like about 6 here, starting from the oldest one, we call the Hague Convention, or the Convention on the Protection of Cultural Property in the event of armed conflicts, like in the wartime, and also the Convention on the Prevention of Illicit Trafficking of Cultural Property. The second one deals with like cultural objects, art objects. The third one, the one that everybody knows, I'm pretty sure, is the World Heritage Convention. It deals with both cultural and natural World Heritage. And we also have another convention, lesser known, but very, very important as well, is on the protection of underwater cultural heritage, which like, it would be quite surprising to say that there are actually about 3 million underwater heritage sites just around Thailand. So just imagine the amount of things that we're talking about in the entire world. Now I'm talking about something that changed from just the consideration of heritage as places or objects to something that is about the living heritage. What you just saw today as well this morning, Nora stand, that's one kind of what we call intangible cultural heritage. The performing arts, skills and knowledge about handicraft, belief system, religious practices or festival rituals, different kinds, like these are what we call intangible heritage. So there's a law, an international law to help promoting and safeguarding this particular kind of heritage. Also, the last one is the Convention on the Diversity of Cultural Expressions, on the freedom to be creative, to actually create new things that could become one day heritage. So from what I have just talked about, you will see that the span, the definition of heritage is not anymore just a World Heritage Site, a museum objects, but it covers also intangible, like living heritage and the new creations like films, pop cultures, music, books, newspaper, as well as tourism is one kind of culture, so to say. I also have like some examples of the UNESCO global frameworks that is related to tourism and to cities, to The first one is the historic urban landscape, or HUL, is about how to transform a city into to focus on the aspect of livability of a city. So a city is not only about a place that you come for economic progress. Like if we were turn into vegetables, which is that. But it's the place that you also have to focus on social and environmental aspect of a life as well. So this is to promote the different kinds of aspects for the sustainable way to live a life in a city through town planning, through inclusive resource management of both tangible and intangible assets. Another global program that could reflect that it is the one that I'm pretty sure many people knows about it. We've been talking about it for the past 2 days, the Creative City Network, that now kind of span for over 300 cities across the world, and covering 7 themes, from gastronomy to music to visual art, media art, film, and literature. In Thailand, there in Asia, there are about 30 cities across Asia Pacific. In Thailand, there are 6 of them, for example, Chiang Rai and Bangkok are City of Design, Chiang Mai and Sukhothai City of Crafts and Folk Arts, and Phetchaburi and Phuket in the south is the city for gastronomy, food. Yes. So let's not talk about the beautiful thing, I'm not talking about the good stuff, the good stories. Now, let's talk about something that is a little bit more putting a salt in the pain, because that's where we learn from it. Yes, I'm talking about the COVID. So these are some of the stats that we have accumulated in 2021. In 2020 and 2021, UNESCO worked with different UN agencies and put together a kind of a stats that actually shows the monetary loss in the culture and tourism sectors over the past 2 years. So you will see some of the numbers, some painful numbers, 89% of World Heritage Sites across the world were closed in 2000, and 50% still remain closed in 2021, which actually is accountable for about 30% of GDP dropped in Pacific Islands, where you rely quite a lot on tourism, as well as the 87% drops on international flights, airline and tourism businesses income. It also reported here, I just want to point out 78% of the negative impact on the local community living around the World Heritage Sites. Also, the impact is not only for the World Heritage Site, but also in museums, 80% drops of revenues in museum, which museum across the world as accountable right now is about 100,000 museums that we're talking about with this kind of drop. That caused a lot of job loss in this sector, and the people who lost their job over the past 2 years, unfortunately, are young people. So imagine if you just got an entry-level job for a year or two, and then you just got fired. Not just on the side of the tangible heritage, but also on the side of intangible heritage over the past 2 years. So you will see some of the global drops in terms of revenue for artists, from their concerts, from their theater, from different kind of artist expressions, and there are about 12% of artists who actually were forced to depart their careers. So this is what happened when you take people out of place, to take people away from the places, or what we would call destination. But right now people say that tourism is coming back somehow, whenever, and we're going to go back to the business as usual. We're going to just have the full tourism coming back by 2024. I'm not sure, but. So it's also a good time to start rethink about the kind of usual classic threats that we have faced before COVID as well. On top of that, I'm pretty sure this picture would make some of our Nepalese delegate cringe. You might remember some of the very horrible events that happened in the world, like in the earthquake in Kathmandu Valley in 2015, or the arson in the Namdaemun gate in Korea in 2008. So these are kind of a shocking threats that you would see as something that would be like the most horrific kind of threats to World Heritage sites. It's not just World Heritage, like any heritage site that would have to go through this kind of disasters. But surprisingly, these are not like the top threats to the World Heritage by statistics. So this is like the work that we did in 2015, like a secondary report like in the region, in Asia Pacific, that shows that if not counting the severity, but more the frequency of the kind of threats, the top 4 threats are local, like weathering. Like for example, what you would see, like if someone went to the Heritage Singapore yesterday, you will see that some of the mural paintings, they were completely invisible thanks to our very heavy humidity in Thailand. So that's kind of like, that's the weathering affecting the physical fabrics of heritage sites that happen all the time. Social and cultural use of the heritage sites, building and land development, as well as pollution. But you also note that the kind of infrastructure for public and tourism services is also ranked as one of the threats even more frequently than wars, terrorism, civil unrest, and actually as much as climate change. So this is also something that we also have to think about, that everything that we do affects places. Everything that we make change the place affect the livelihood and the fabric, like the social and environmental fabric of the place. So if the COVID-19 took away people from places, but now like people think that everything is coming back to usual, we can just go on, but what if like one day the kind of threats that I was just talking about would take the places away from the people, and this is something that there's no coming back from there. Like for COVID, we still have the recovery, we still have the phase that we changed to endemic, but if the places are destroyed, there is no way to reverse from there anymore. So that's something to think about. So how can we actually come back to the tourism in a better version of ourselves? I'm pretty sure like I kind of like voiced some of like our very excellent keynote speakers this morning. Like you gotta stay human. You gotta be like, be less compartmental. I'm not gonna say like be less governmental, but be less compartmental in the way you do things. Don't make the system make you less compassion or less collaborative or less intersectoral in the nature of ourselves. So the lesson that UNESCO have got, and we're kind of trying to make it simplify it for everyone, is like the first thing is that try to, like, not just for ourselves, but like everybody need to also help together to encourage kind of cooperation, intersectoral cooperation, agency cooperation. The kind of a new word for me, actually, like in terms of partnership model, is the people. A public-private people partnership. I call it 4 Ps, but my 1-year-old kid would call it PPPP, just for fun. So it's like the kind of partnership that you don't only talk about public sector and private sector work together, but you work with the actual people who are the labor force behind all the success, all the possibilities of services and resources that you have for the tourism. And actually, like when you, by definition of sustainable tourism, you're actually implementing that 5 Ps. If a tourism business can call itself sustainable, they have to think about how to be, how to not directly or indirectly destroy nature and heritage. If they want to be, if a tourism business is sustainable, they also have to think already of how to, respect and give benefits to indigenous people and local supply chain. So it is in the nature of reaching out to become a sustainable tourism business in itself that you are implementing this 4P model. UNESCO also has like a kind of tools that we would like to introduce as one of a tool that would really help with visitor management. So this is a new tool called VMAST. It's the web-based heritage visitor management tools. That the special thing about VMAST is that it's actually not only for site managers or for government to use it, but it encourages the governmental sector to reach out to public sector, to local community people to actually get the kind of useful information to put into this form. So they can't really just fill the form by just sitting on a desk and imagining their beautiful report, because that's not going to be how it works, how it's going to actually benefit your work progress. So if you use this kind of particular tools in a right way, and it's actually quite useful not only for the World Heritage Site, but for the non-World Heritage Site as well. And it's now run by a social enterprise called World Heritage Catalysis. And in Thailand, actually in Asia, DASTA, our key partner, is very instrumental in promoting it region-wide. Another example of cooperation with the public sector that we have done so far is a project called Technology and Culture Merged Together. So in 2020, we didn't actually have anything to do because we sat at home. So we did this online competition project and participated by people from 34 countries in Asia. We brought in the tech entrepreneur, startup entrepreneur, young people starting their tech business, AR, VR technology, web developer, app developers, and we brought them to work with people who are from culture sector, dancers, craft people, and people in the creative industries, for example, artists. And we asked them to come up with kind of new solutions, new innovations to solve some of the problem in culture and tourism sectors. One of the winners I would like to talk about today, because I think they're quite related with the tourism, is a work in progress called the Roots. So this is the Roots is an app developer that work with local community in Bangkok to start this kind of, to address the vicious cycle of tourism, which is, for example, the tourists kind of lack the knowledge to actually travel deep. So you want people to travel deep to talk about it, but then you don't actually give them the means to do so. And also the lack of the know-how to communicate their living heritage, their valuable traditions, or their valuable cultural assets in the locals to people, to tourists. So this application is supposed to be an application. They offer the kind of hidden gem itineraries of places. For example, a superstitious route, so you can actually go there. If you're a kind of superstitious people, you want to pray with all shrines in Bangkok, you can go to this route. Or if you want to see different cultures merging together, you can go to the melting pot route, for example. So this app would offer this kind of itinerary that they got from deep consultation with different local communities. So they went to do the research for you, they talked to the community people for you, they got their voice and they transformed that into an application. It's still a work in progress, so to say, so there's no app yet, but you can check them out here. But they're very open to work with people from every countries and every communities possible to put more information on their platform and make an app possible one day. The second lesson learned is on the respectful communication about local communities. So you can't really, the tourism business has to change from something that would just only, value the customers and devalue the local workforce that are the possibilities behind all the resources, all the services that made possible. So we try to kind of voice that at a global level. We have this project called the World Heritage Journey, which we did with National Geographic. So the World Heritage Journey is about telling the story from the voices of local people in different languages, so people can get to know. It's more I'm pretty sure it's an older version of the BBC Story Works, which I like that even more. So The World Heritage Journeys, we started off in Europe, and right now we extended to Asia, called the World Heritage Journey Buddha, focusing on the religious side as well, thanks to the participation of Koiga, Expedia Group, DASTA, and the Finance Department that made this possible. So in Europe, there are so many sites already, but in Asia, there are only like about 5, in India, Nepal, Bangladesh, and Thailand. So this project is still very open to get more sites to participate in this campaign. I'm just going to just pick one quickly for you. This is what is so-called Thai. So you see the kind of information, like, you know, experience recommended by the local, like what you get to do, like a local, and where you get to go, what you should eat, something like the voice of the local being translated by like travel bloggers into like writings for everyone to be able to access for free. Third lesson, last but not least, I'm sorry for overtime a bit, is that when we talk about sustainability, we can't just talk about, you know, just save the planet, doing this and that. Biodiversity and cultural diversity goes hand in hand. It grows in the same direction. You can't just put more attention to one but not the other in order to achieve the sustainability. For this, we have some projects that we launched with Expedia. It's the UNESCO Sustainable Travel Pledge. So this attracts the hospitality business, like hotels, accommodation, that have their sites on Expedia. By signing to this pledge, they aim to promote the reduction of plastic and food waste, and replacement of the single-use plastic with sustainable traditional crafts in the local area. So instead of like sourcing something from the imports, we source something locally and reduce the footprints and everything. So right now there are over 500 hotels, just only in Thailand, that signed the pledge, but we have already expanded to beyond Thailand just last year. Now it covers like many countries, especially in Asia, and we're looking for more hotels to sign this pledge. So if you know some of the hotels, please guide them here so they can join force and become like a green business, like established green business. By signing this pledge, they would get this special UNESCO Sustainable Travel badge in their Expedia website, which actually attracts more of the green travelers to consider them as one of the choices. And that leads also to like from the Expedia pledge that we implemented. We also have another project we work with PADA, is the targeting zero plastic in tourism business with Unesco PADA and Expedia Group. It's an online course. Like if you want to become a business, like a green business, like tourism business or hospitality business, whatnot. But you don't know how to do it. You don't know how to actually, you know, maintain become a green business while in the midst of the COVID concern of using the mask, of disposing more plastic. So this is the course for you to be able to do that. So in this course, it will tell you how to build like a plastic reduction strategy for the business, and how to actually fight the plastic waste with local knowledge and products, as well as keep growing the business in a green strategy way as well. So I guess I don't want to be the one that launched the course, because actually PADA colleagues like Fernanda, Graham, Paul, and the team are the one that actually was part of this work in developing this very comprehensive course. So I would like to congratulate PADA as well on the success of this particular course. And of course, like all the people who participated in this course will get like a certificate of completion, and from the 3 organizations. So we would like to encourage you to also start making change to the world. Start taking this course or sign the pledge, and thank you very much. I think that's all I have to say.
Thank you to Montakarn for the presentation. Thank you very much. Feel pleased to take the online classes course today.